So it should go without saying that everything in my videos is just my opinion, and obviously you are all free to disagree with me. That should be obvious, but I feel the need to say it anyway because this video might be a bit controversial, contentious. Regardless, I will go on. This video is about 5 things that I think they will need to change in the Wheel of Time TV show. We're all really excited about the Wheel of Time show, at least I think we are. I know I am. I feel like I've been waiting for this for most of my life. I'm so excited and I can't wait for it to come out. I know with what's going on in the world, it's going to take a little bit longer, but I am so excited. And I spent tons of time watching videos and discussing with people online things that we think will happen in the series and things that we hope and things that we want to see. And just over the course of all of these discussions, I have thought of 5 things that I think absolutely have to be changed for the show. Again, though, obviously just my opinion, but the 5 on this list are ones that I feel the most certain about. The first one is the Myrddraal. Now, the Myrddraal are badass. Do not get me wrong about the Myrddraal. They have no eyes, and yet they can see better than you. Their face is as smooth as an egg, which, if you had ever told me before reading the Wheel of Time that someone could make an egg creepy, I would not have believed you, but that is like a creepy thing to say about any living creature. They are some creepy-ass motherfuckers. But their cloaks don't move. And in the books, this is a creepy thing to read because it sort of sets them apart from reality. And it's cool. However, if you put that in the show that their cloaks don't move, it's just gonna look like cheap CGI. I'm going to assume that I have somehow managed to do some editing magic here and show what I mean, but if you have a creature that looks like it's not being affected by the elements, it's gonna look like a badly rendered video game. Like your special effects team just got lazy and gave up. Again, I feel the need to just keep saying this over and over again. Obviously, they could come up with something that I haven't thought of. This is the production team's job. It is not mine. But I cannot imagine a way to do this that is not going to look like they just gave up and put the show out without finishing the effects. The next item on my list is regarding the Aes Sedai. It is their ageless face. Now, this has been talked about ad nauseum online, and the comment that I hear the most when people are talking about this is, don't worry, they've got this. Hollywood has been de-aging actors for ages, and that's true, but de-aging and ageless is not the same thing. The ageless face, as described in the books, is something that if you are familiar with Aes Sedai, you would recognize their face on a woman that you have never met. Making a woman look younger than she is not the same as making a woman look distinct and unique and different from other women. If I meet a 50-year-old woman who has amazing makeup or has had cosmetic surgery and she looks like she's in her mid-30s, unless she tells me her age, I'm not going to know that she looks younger than she is. I'm just going to think she's the age that she looks. Woman who looks like she's in her mid-30s, I'm going to think she's in her mid-30s. You know, it's hearing hoof prints and thinking horse, not zebra. That's just the way it is. So unless the Aes Sedai are walking around in every single place they go, they are making sure everybody knows their age, so everybody who looks at them can go, oh, you look significantly younger than you are, therefore you must be an Aes Sedai. Unless that's what's happening, making them look younger is not going to make them unique and stand out. So I think they're going to have to either do away with or change to something else. The best suggestion I've actually read online is something to do with eye color. Perhaps a unique eye color that is not unhuman but also is incredibly rare, or eye color that changes. It's something that you wouldn't notice unless you were looking for it, because for the most part, unless somebody's eyes are an unusual color, we don't pay attention. But if I was aware that a person's eyes changing color means that that person has magical abilities or something, then that might be something that stood out to me. The third item on my list is the spanking. Oh, the spanking. There is so much spanking in these books. It is to the point that, like, I don't like to speculate about other people's sexual fetishes, but like, I kind of think Robert Jordan had a spanking fetish because there's so much spanking in these books. And it's always women getting spanked. It's women spanking women or men spanking women. There's no men spanking men or women spanking men. It just doesn't happen that way because I guess that wasn't sexy. I don't know. It's ridiculous. And it has to go. I cannot think of a way to show someone having their ass smacked by a hand or a brush or a shoe or whatever and not having it make everybody involved look so stupid. It's humiliating, it's demeaning, and it will look ridiculous. It will turn the show into a comedy. I mean, there are funny parts of Wheel of Time, but I don't want a sitcom. Like, I want a show, and yeah, the spanking has got to go. If they want to keep corporal punishment, beating, whipping, caning, stress positions, something, anything other than spanking, because, oh God, the spanking is so bad. I love Wheel of Time, but oh my goodness, the spanking. Why is there so much spanking in these books? Okay, let's move on. The next thing that I think needs to change, and quite frankly, in my opinion, can just be removed, is Oliver. I don't hate Oliver. I don't love him either. He's fine. There are moments that are funny. There's even a moment that I kind of tear up with him. I think he's cute. I like his relationship with Matt. I like that dynamic. But I don't think he really adds anything significant. But actually, the reason I think they will have to remove him or change something drastically about his character is more logistical than having to do with my opinion about his character. Kids the age of Oliver grow really quickly, and these books take place over the course of 2 years. The filming will take more than 2 years. This child will age way faster than he should. And if they decide to just go with that and perhaps have him just get older, then they will have to change his story completely, which I suppose is in their purview, because a teenage boy flirting with older women gets kind of creepy, and it gets even creepier if they flirt back or doting on a teenage boy. That gets into a weird predatory thing, and I don't like what that would mean for this world and for the people involved. So I think that just practically not having a child who has to be a child in the show is much easier. Now, I haven't been giving spoiler warnings on my video, and for that, I am sorry. On this, I am going to give a spoiler warning because it's literally a spoiler warning for the final book. So, if you haven't read the final book, bye! But I know that some people will say, no, you have to keep Oliver because he blows the horn. And, yeah, he does. I think he could move that to someone else. In fact, if I ever finish filming and making my video on missed opportunities in Wheel of Time, watch that one to see what I think about this, because I have opinions on this. Regardless, I think Oliver will need to go. The final item on my list is probably going to be the most controversial. However, it's the one I actually feel the strongest about. And that is that I think the show is going to have to change and adjust, or just flat out insert and include the existence of trans people in the Wheel of Time. Now, just to put all my cards on the table, as I've mentioned before in a previous video, and as some of you may have figured out by looking at my username, I am a lesbian. I am also a left-wing, liberal, woke, SJW, trans ally. I'm all the things. I'm all the things that conservatives hate. But my opinion on this doesn't really have to do with my stance on the existence of trans people. It has to do with the fact that it's 2020, and the existence of trans people is talked about. It's in the zeitgeist. There are trans actors and actresses. There are trans politicians. There are debates about whether or not trans people should be in the military or able to use the bathroom. It's a ridiculous debate, but whatever. It is an issue that is getting talked about a lot these days. And the Wheel of Time is a world that is based around a binary magic system and a binary gender system. If the show doesn't address it, it's going to seem deliberate, and it's going to seem cowardly. it's also going to be the first question, I think, that comes up on every message board, in every interview. What about trans people? What about non-binary people? What about? Because the way it is in the books, there isn't really a place for these people who exist. Trans people just exist. Now, where my personal stance on this does come in is that I would hope that trans people would be included in a positive way. Quite honestly, I think they could do it very easily by just making one of the Aes Sedai trans. You know, she was born into a biologically male body, but she identifies as female, and wouldn't you know it, she can access Saidar. Done. They've answered the question. It's done. Move on with the story. I think that would be the best way to do it, but regardless, however they do it, I think it needs to be done, because if they don't, it's going to seem like they deliberately avoided a controversial topic because they were too chicken to deal with it. Now, I am a person who has been on the internet, so I know that some people will say, no, you don't have to change it, because Robert Jordan included trans people in his books. I have had this conversation online, and it always goes the same way. I'm going to quote the most extreme version of this, but they all were saying the same thing. They say, Robert Jordan included trans people in his books. Trans people are, quote unquote, an abomination created by the Dark One. If you leave this topic as it is in the books, that is the impression that is given. And I really, really hope that that is not the impression that the show would want to give. Which is why I think that however they do it, the issue of trans people in the world of Wheel of Time has to be changed, because the way it is right now is problematic. And I do just want to get this out there. I am not saying this to in any way malign the memory of Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan was incredibly progressive for his time. This just was not a topic that was being discussed or talked about at the time that he was writing these books, and sensitivity towards trans people, not really anything that was being talked about. I don't know about you, but I watched and laughed uproariously watching Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, and that movie's really, really transphobic. Times change and perspectives change, and I personally fully believe that if Robert Jordan was writing these books now, this issue would have been dealt with in a more sensitive way, because I fully believe that his desire and his goal was to create an inclusive world. But we are all limited by the context of our lives and the times that we are in. I know, for example, that my perspective on trans people has changed as I've gotten older and become more aware of these issues. My perspective on a lot of things has changed. So yeah, as I said at the beginning, obviously everything in this video is just my opinion. These are not the only things that I think that probably should be changed for the show, but these are the 5 that I feel the most strongly about. But I'm very curious to know, what are yours? I know that we all have a list of things that we think or hope should be changed for the show, and I'd love to know what yours are. So please, leave me a comment down below. And, as always, like and subscribe, and stick around for the art credits.